I only have a little bit of battery today, so that means I'm not going to be on here long. And my son has a game today, so we got basketball tonight. Basketball. We playing basketball. So I won't be on here very long, so I'm not gonna hold you up. I thank you for joining me. If this is your first time checking out my channel, my name is Latoriea Q. I am a certified community psychologist. I do help my people that find me and connect with me and resonate with me. I have been a community psychologist for about the last, where are we at, since 2018. However, I have worked within the foster care system, and I have worked as a trauma specialist for a long time. I started working with children who were in foster care way back when in December of 2000. So this year will make my 25th year of service in December, where I have been serving my community. With that being said, I am also a holistic practitioner where I work with people who are wanting to help themselves transform with self care, and where I incorporate not only self healing and um, metaphysical, spiritual practice, but I also just incorporate the fact that we are all living this life and learning and growing together. And if I can learn and grow myself, I would love to show someone else how to help themselves as well. So I do share this content not only as a student, but as a teacher of what I learned to master myself. So I thank you for joining me. I thank you for providing me the space and time to share with you some things that I have learned along the way. Again, learning to shed our trauma, shed what hinders us and keeps us from growing. I share it with you so it would be in the hopes that not only can I reach someone and teach someone, but I can certainly help someone grow as I grow and we become a village of strong people. With that being said, as you can see, the title of today's video is Fear is Not a Factor, It's a Guide. Fear is not a factor unless you make it a factor. So many people do live in fear. So many people live caught up in their pain. So many people live struggling. Greetings, Barat. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Vaibhava, sorry, I apologize if I have um, not said your name well, but I appreciate you all. Um, Abinish, Abinash, greetings, greetings. Zayan, greetings. Malaya, greetings. Ayush, greetings. Can I clear a competitive exam in a year? It depends on what you're studying for and what uni you're going to go to. You can do anything you set your mind to, but it is going to require you to be very intentional with your studies. With that being said, greetings, 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 Naomi in Kenya. Thank you for joining me today. For those that don't know, I am in the United States. I am someone who, again, is just on the pursuit of growing in this life. And I just want to share with others things that I learn and in hopes that we all grow together. So today we're talking about fear is not a factor, it is a guide. So let's just start out with fear is a very powerful force in all of our lives. All of us, to some degree, have had some form of fear. They want to keep us in fear. I often say they, but there are powers that be that would prefer us to stay in fear because it is an easy way to harvest energy. It is an easy way to get someone distracted from their spiritual path. It is an easy way for someone to be destroyed from within. You can sabotage yourself. You can limit yourself. You can put yourself in positions where you shouldn't be because of fear. You cannot reach your fullest, greatest potential because of fear. You can destroy your own family from within because of fear. And so if you stay in fear and your oppressor wants you in fear, you will ultimately stay a slave, and you will also stay in a position of crouching down, and you will not be who you are ultimately supposed to be. However, fear is a powerful force that can transform your life if you know how to use it as a tool. Fear is not to keep you limited, but it is to help you understand what your parameters are, where your boundaries are at, and it's to help you overcome obstacles because now you know how to be confident, and you know how to be skilled, and you know how to be intentionally um, powerful. You know who you are when you address your fears. You know how far you really can go when you conquer your fears. And you have no one that can tell you who you are at any time when you address your fears. However, it exists to protect us, and it also exists to give us an alarm. When you have fear, it sends off frequencies within your body for you to get more aware, to be more in tune, for you to be more sensitive, for you to be more engaged, for you to be more aware of what's in your atmosphere, your surroundings, and where you should be going. Um, Peace, peace. I am in the United States. I'm in the middle of the United States. I'm in what's called the middle of the map. So I'm in Kansas, United States. And so, with that being said, fear can signal danger within you, whether it's real or perceived. Um, but it is not, again, anything for you to get caught up in. It's to help you survive. But we have to come out of this thing called being fearful, because we have to get to a place where we thrive. We have to get to this place where we are on the mountaintop and we are able to see with all vantage points. But if you're afraid to climb the mountain, you don't ever get to conquer your fears. And so we are then in our own cage in our mind because of fear that is either perceived or possibly real. So, um, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, it can also keep us from expanding to, again, our highest selves, or potentially it can get to your highest self. It's how you use it. It is a tool, but you have to know how to use your fears. You have to know how to use your opponent. You have to know how to use your gifts. Because here's the thing, we all have an arsenal of tools. We all have an arsenal of tools. Some of them are spiritual tools. Some of them are physical tools. Some of them are intellectual tools. And your fears help you because you have to use your tools. And you should know which tools you should be using to conquer fears. But if you keep running from your fears, you will always run from your tools. You will run from your own superpower. And in the end, you'll find out the only thing you had to be afraid of was yourself. You are your biggest fear. Your mind is your biggest cage. Have you ever seen that picture? And it just popped in my mind. Have you ever seen that picture where they tie a horse up to a chair? And the chair is a little flimsy chair. The chair is not secured in the ground. The chair has no real structure to it. It's flimsy. But the horse doesn't know that at any given time, if it just moved, the chair would go with it. It doesn't know that at any given time that if it just ran hard enough, the chair would break apart because it's flimsy. It has no real power. Well, oftentimes that is our fear. Our fear is a perception of something being stronger than us. It's also a perception of something that can destroy us. But in all actuality, we have more power than our fears. But it's up to you to operate within your power to know that you can destroy your fears at any given time. Hello, hello. Thank you all for joining. I really do appreciate it. I have began to meet so many people from around the world, and it is a very beautiful thing. Let me tell you a little bit more about myself before we go on. So I used to have a lot of fears in the sense of I grew up. I'm not from this area. I'm from a different part of the United States. And this different part of the United States, I had a community of people that spoke more like myself, looked like myself, had more family cultural, ties and intentions like the family that I come from. I come from a very Southern family, a Southern root family, a Southern American family. So our perception of ourselves is very, very different than the perception of people in where I live at now. And so I had an identity issue as a young girl. It wasn't that I didn't want to be a black woman or a black girl. It wasn't that I had struggles with my accent because I didn't speak like I speak now. I spoke with a different kind of accent. I had more of a, what someone else would call a twang or something like that, right? And so I grew up in this place where I had to change how I was and how I spoke and how I moved and how I operated to be more acclimated to this space, right? Um, and what happened was I became fearful of who I was supposed to be because I knew then something was different about me. And I didn't want to fit in, but I had to make myself fit in. And so I ran from what it was that I was supposed to be doing. And because I ran from it, it became bigger than what it was supposed to be. And so then it was, I didn't want to be in front of people. I didn't want to speak in front of people. I didn't want to sing. I didn't want to dance. I didn't want to share gifts. I didn't want to share with my ancestors, my great grandmother and great great aunts and the old folks, the elders. I didn't want to always share what they told me or what they gave me because I had a fear that someone would judge me. They would judge me because I didn't speak like they spoke. They would judge me because I didn't look like they looked. They would judge me in ways that really I was judging myself. No one really can judge me in the way that makes me feel like I'm less than or not enough or anything. It's a standard or a standard of someone else that I'm trying to measure myself to. And so often we all try to measure ourselves up to standards that other people have set, not necessarily standards that are real. So we end up having these traps within our body because we want to break out and we want to be free and we want to be creative and we want to be intentional and we want to be vibrant. But we can't because if I'm vibrant, then someone will say to me that I'm trying to be something I may not be trying to be. Or if I stand out, then someone may try to push me back down in a way that I don't want to be beat down and I don't want to be hurt and I don't want to be afraid and I don't want these things that make me feel like I may have to fit for someone else. And so I came to this point in life, many years ago now, but I came to this point in life where I said, I can't care what anyone else thinks anymore. And I have to battle my own mind. And some people may say that's the dark night of the soul, where you come face to face with yourself and you come face to face with your greatest fears and you come face to face with even the fears that your ancestors had. And in that, when you can overcome your darkest night of your soul, everything after that is so much more beautiful and intentional. Because once you face your greatest fears, you fear absolutely nothing. I'll say that again. Now, reality, hold on now. Reality says to me, I'm not going to go in a pit of snakes. And I'm not going to go trying to figure out which one's venomous and not venomous. I'm not going to play with snakes, right? But in my real spirit, in my heart of hearts, I'm a warrior. And I fear no man, and I fear no one. I fear God, and that's all I have to fear. But that also includes me. I can't put myself in a box to appease anyone. I fear no man. I fear no woman. I fear no child. I fear none. And that's what I'm sharing with you. You have to get to a point where you fear none. You fear no one. You fear nothing. You are ready to face every single challenge, including the ones that are in your mind. You have to be ready to address the parts of you that you've been running from. And so often, many of us run from ourselves. So, how does fear affect us on an energy in an energetic way, and in our healing? One of the things that I talk about often are how to overcome trauma. There are some people who have had someone take advantage of their body. There's others that have had someone take advantage of their finances. There are others that have been trapped in committed relationships or some form of a relationship, and they have abused them by trapping them with their power. There are so many people who have been trapped in so many things, which causes them to be diminished in their own thinking, diminished in what they are supposed to be confident in, which is their skills. They get trapped. And so then they become stagnant energetically. They become not whole, they become broken. And so I want to share with you how your fears keep you trapped energetically, and how your fears can help you heal. I know that's two sides of the same coin, but it's two different sides. It can either keep you trapped energetically, or you can become whole to heal by addressing your fears. So let's keep going. As you know, if you've followed my channel for any given time, I like my notes. So fear is stored energetically in the body, creating blockages that disrupt our natural flow. Have you ever seen someone who is in a state of fear? Oftentimes, they deal with high blood pressure, they deal with cardiovascular issues, their heart palpitates, it pumps really strange. The panic, they go into sweats, they get anxiety. It disrupts them from being their intellectual self, it disrupts them from being their creative self. It disrupts them from being their loving self. Fear can stop you from being a lot of things, but that's when you hold on to it. Sometimes you do need to know what fear feels like so that you can unlock yourself. Our nervous system stays in a heightened sense of fight or flight mode when we are in fear. It leads us to chronic stress, it causes inflammation, it causes even cellular breakdown. This prevents the body from healing efficiently when you stay in fear. Emotionally and spiritually, fear lowers our vibrational frequency. It keeps us trapped in cycles that we don't have to be in. It makes us self sabotage. That was one of my bigger problems. I would self sabotage so quickly. Here's an example of how I would self sabotage. I wouldn't call myself a genius or anything like that, but sometimes I was intelligent, the more intelligent person in the room. And so a teacher would call on me, and they knew I had the answer. They knew I knew the answer, but I would intentionally say the wrong answer so that the attention would come off of me. I would be called out in front of other people to come sing, and I was like, and I would crack my voice on purpose. I would self-sabotage. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous because you can lose opportunities. You can lose your gifts giving up your gifts. And so you have to realize that you're going to limit yourself by staying in fear. And limiting yourself in a physical sense also limits you in a cellular sense, in a chemical sense, in a mental sense, in any form or fashion that you want to say. If you limit yourself in any capacity, You're going to limit yourself as a whole. And so, if we don't release fear, if we don't address fear, if we don't face our fears head on, it manifests into something like a physical ailment. It'll manifest into something like poor relationships. It's going to manifest into mental fatigue and breakdown. It's going to manifest itself into you taking a job that you don't like because you want to be comfortable, and you'll rather struggle than face your fear. And that's a lot of people. I know it sounds crazy, but it's a lot of people who really live a life of fear, and they pretend that they're just comfortable with, I'll take it like that. Well, maybe I shouldn't have had it. Well, I don't want to put any more effort into this, because if I put any more effort into this, I might actually fail. And then if I fail, I might have to turn around and do it a different way and learn a little bit more about myself, you know? But when you address your fears, you heal energetically. When you put your fears into perspective, you then realize that you are very intelligent, you're analytical, you can be very skillful, and you can break blocks that cause barriers that you should have been cruising past. Um, let's talk about, how do you face your fears? You need to acknowledge them, actually call it out. Sometimes you got to call your fears out by name. You have to call it out and befriend it. Fear can be your friend. So many people think, well, that's my weakness. Your weakness is also your strength when you know how to use it. Your weakness can be your strength if you know how to use it. Your fear can be your strength if you know how to use it. Instead of resisting fear, recognize it as a signal and master it. If you know you are afraid of something, figure it out. Why? How did it become like that? Who told you, or what made you believe this was something for you to fear? Ask yourself, what is this fear trying to teach me? What do I need to know about myself? Because if I need to get to the next level and my fear is a part of my next level, I want to master it, because I'm going to master my next level too. Awareness alone begins the healing process. Awareness alone begins the healing process. In the United States, I know that there are so many people that are from another country. And in the United States, there is a program called Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. And that's because we have so many people addicted to drugs in this country, unfortunately. And I'm sure it's like that in many countries where people are addicted to drugs and alcohol, and they have all these fears, and they have all these things that they continually repeat to themselves that sets them back. And because they repeat these stories to themselves, they need to have these vices to function and to survive. And so we deal often in America with these addicts that are addicted to very hard drugs. They are addicted to losing their mind. They are addicted to going off into space and zoning out and being trapped in their mind. And the very first thing when they go into a program for Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, the very first thing is you have to, say your name, and then you have to admit that you are an addict. You have to say, hi, my name is such and such, and I am addicted to alcohol. Hi, my name is so and so, and I am addicted to whatever your drug of choice is. And the first step in your healing is to acknowledge your problem. You have to acknowledge the addiction. You have to acknowledge what your struggle actually is. Because when you actually call it out, it makes you aware of who you are now. And it also makes you call back your power to yourself. So, yes, my name is this, and this is my weakness too. Because if I know my weakness and I know my fear, no one else can use my fear against me. No one else can use my weakness against me. No one else can break me down with what I fear or what I use as a vice. That's the purpose of why people do that in Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. And the next part after that, they have to be aware that you have to accept the things that you can change, and you also have to accept the things that you can't change. Because there are some things in life that have happened to us, whether it's individually or collectively, that you have to know you can change. And then there's some things that have happened to us in life that we have to know we can't change. And so you can't keep running into a brick wall trying to break it down if you are not strong enough, big enough, or tall enough, or wide enough, or whatever to break the wall down. Sometimes you just have to say, I need to stop running into this wall. And in that, when you can run through something and break it down, that's what you're supposed to do. But in order to do that, you have to get very centered within yourself. You're going to have to ground yourself. And the best way to ground yourself is breath work. Breath work is a form of meditation. Breath work is my understanding of breath work is it is one of the closest ways that you can get to God, because you are a living, breathing entity and you are a reflection of God in this planet, on this earth, in this realm. And so if you can get centered with your breath work, if you can ground yourself with your breathing, you can then calm your mind, you can regulate your nervous system, you can get your heart and your gut, and you can get your brain, you can get it all in alignment so that you can think clearly, you can perceive clearly. So deep, conscious breath work, breathing through it, helps you get through fears. You know, there are people who get angry, like extremely angry. And some of the first things that you're told when you get really angry is what? Go count and breathe. Breathe through it. So facing your fears, breathe through it. Take a moment to get your breath. It's a guide. It's to help you. It's not for you to get overworked and overwhelmed and frustrated and bothered. It's an opportunity for you to ground yourself and let harmful frequencies out of your body. Your fear is a tool. It's a guide. Don't run from it. Breathe through it. Ground yourself. And so, again, breath work activates your parasympathetic nervous system. If you don't know what your parasympathetic nervous system is, you have a brain and you have a stem, which is your brain, right? And then you have your spinal cord. And anything that comes off of that spinal cord is a part of your parasympathetic nervous system. But your parasympathetic nervous system actually extends past your body. Your parasympathetic nervous system is what creates your aura, your energy, your vibe, your good sensations. Your parasympathetic is also what triggers you to be sensitive and say, oh, hold on, I can't go over there. That is not for me. Your parasympathetic nervous system is also what gives you the sense of, let me regulate myself and calm down. That's what makes when you get a hug, your parasympathetic nervous system calms down. But your parasympathetic nervous system is also your subconscious mind. Your parasympathetic nervous system is not just what you're absolutely aware of, which is taking a moment. Let's take a moment together, right? I don't know what you can see, but I know what I can see, right? And when you get control of your parasympathetic nervous system, right? There's your conscious, which is if you stop right now and take an observation of what colors do you see near you? Can you feel your clothes on your body? What color are you wearing? Um, what kind of car do you drive? That's your parasympathetic. That's your awareness, your consciousness. But when we dive into talking about your parasympathetic nervous system or your subconscious mind, then we get into when you take in a deep breath, where does your mind go? Your parasympathetic nervous system is the part of you where you say, where's your mind going? Some people may take in a deep breath and they may think about their children. Somebody may take in a deep breath and they may think about the work that they have to do today. Someone else may take in a deep breath and they think about all their bills. Someone else may take a deep breath and they think about their vacation that's getting ready to come up, and they're going to smell the salt in the air and their feet on the beach, and they're not feeling it right now, but their mind can perceive that. Well, fear lies within that parasympathetic nervous system, in which you may not be actually in it, but you can go there. It's as if it's real. Your mind can go there as if it's real. I'm in Kansas, I'm in the middle of America, but my mind can perceive me being on the coast and my feet in the ocean. Why? Because I've, one, been there before, but two, I can remember it because I enjoyed it. I have a sensation from it. It has caused me to feel a certain kind of way. Well, if you are not in control of your parasympathetic nervous system, you can have your mind go places where you have been or not been, but you have a perception that it's real. You have a perception that it is going to affect you in a kind of way, whether it be good or bad. Well, let me help you with something. Shifting your body into a relaxed state where healing can occur is the same as shifting your mind in a state where your fear can occur. It's up to you how you shift. It's up to you what you do with your mind. It's up to you. And when you breathe through it and where your mind goes, it's also up to you. You can control your mind. And so, breathing exercise, for instance, there's a 5-5-7, there's a 5-3-5, there's a 4-3-4. There's different variations of breathing exercises. There is a breathwork instructor. His name is Wim Hof, Wimhof. You can go find him on YouTube. You can go find him in the libraries and in the things of, books and movies and things like that. He also talks about doing cold plunges where you get control of your nervous system and you also get control of your mind. But your breath work is very, very powerful. Your breath work is what makes you a living being God. That's what makes you close to God right now. How you breathe. The very first thing that God did when he said, let there be man, was breathe the breath of life into his lungs. And so you having the ability to breathe right now and be aware of yourself is how you conquer your fears. The fact that you're alive right now helps you conquer your fears. So doing breathing exercises helps you to ground and center yourself and get control of your mind, because it's important. It's very important. Another way that you can use your fears is because it will help you move energetically. It will help you do something for yourself that breaks you free. One of the things that I had learned to do for myself, especially when I was, dealing with my own different variances of trauma and my own different life issues, whenever I deal with anything, there's a video that I have on here from in the summertime. I shared with my subscribers. I shared that, during the summer, my house, went through a storm, and I live in Kansas, and we have really bad tornadoes and bad straight line winds. And I lived in an older house. My house was built in 1910 at the time. The house I had at the time was built in 1910, and some straight line winds came through. And I was in the kitchen the next day after the storm, and the sidewall of my foundation collapsed. Absolutely collapsed. And I was going to the insurance company, and I was calling different construction companies and foundation masonries and all these people, and they were telling me how much everything was going to cost, and it put me in a state of shock, and it put me in a state of fear, and I was just so overwhelmed, and I didn't know what to do because the original quote that I had to get my foundation of my house fixed was $80,000, and at the time if I went and got a loan, I was going to get a loan for a new home. If I got a loan for anything, it wasn't going to be to fix this house because I didn't see myself living in this house for, another 50 years. And so my heart of hearts told me I needed to start doing EFT. And EFT tapping is where you start to hit the meridians of your body and you bring yourself back to your state of, consciousness, and you ground yourself and you get very centered on who you are and what you are wanting. You can dance and do movement and things like that. I had to get to a point where I couldn't get caught up in my fear. I couldn't get caught up in the fear of I didn't have enough money. I couldn't get caught up in the fear of what if my house caves in on me. I couldn't get caught up in the fear of what am I going to do. I'm a mother to a child who needs a home. I couldn't get caught up in the fear of lack. I couldn't get caught up in the fear of struggle. I couldn't get caught up in the fear of not knowing what it was going to happen next. I couldn't get caught up in the fear of that. And because I didn't want to get caught up in the fear of that, one of the practices that I did, I started doing the EFT tapping. And the EFT tapping is where you are hitting the different points in your body and you are affirming yourself, you are chanting, or you're giving repetition to, you're saying repetitive statements, But the thing about it is you have to call the fear out. So it was like, I know I don't have enough money to fix this house, but I'm really grateful that I have the house anyway. I know that if I get a loan for a home, I'm not going to stay in this home, but I'm going to have a beautiful place to call my own. Like I had to start getting into a point of calling my fears out, but then affirming what I really, really wanted. Fear can be a tool. Now, long story short, I was able to sell the house. I was able to get more money out of the house than I paid for it, even considering that I needed to get a loan to fix the house that I wasn't going to get, and it was going to cost me more than I wanted to pay. I made a profit buying this house, even with it being damaged. I made a profit when I sold this house, even though it was far more damaged than I really needed it to be to get the good sale out of it, right? I still won. But in the end, I know that it was because I kept myself grounded. I faced my fears. I conquered myself. Because if I would have let my fears get a hold of me, honey, let me tell you, I probably would have been in the nut house. I probably would have been broke. I probably would have been struggling trying to figure out how now that they've jacked up my house, they have tore up my foundation. They have done all these things, and I'm going to be stressed out, worn out, bothered. I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be irritated. I'm going to be struggling. And then I'm going to be stuck in a house that I didn't even want. I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want to get stuck. So I had to find tools to help me face my fears. One of the other things I had to figure out doing is I started dancing on YouTube. Now, I'm not saying I'm doing all the TikTok dances and the Facebook dances and the YouTube dances and all that. I ain't said all that. But what I'm saying is I had to shut the door behind me and just dance like a fool. I had to dance so crazy. I had to get the energy out of my body. I had to let loose. I had to cause movement. I had to create a vortex within myself. A vortex allowed anything that was a heavy weight, anything that was a negative frequency, anything that was a negative thought, anything that was causing me to struggle, anything that was making me feel sick. I had to shake it off. I had to twirl it out. I had to let it loose. Because if I kept walking around life, I'm a massage therapist. If someone came in here and they were like, what's wrong with you? I'm going to transfer my fear over to them, and they're not even going to realize what they're walking around with because I've transferred something over to them. It was my pain. It's my problem, not their pain and problem. I don't even want their pain and problem. So why would I want to give them mine? I had to figure it out that I had to get the energy out of my body. I had to sweep it off of myself, but I had to dance it loose. So I'm telling you now, your fear can be a guide for you to say to yourself, dance, baby, dance. Let it go. Give yourself a twirl. Give yourself, shout it out. Tap yourself loose. Get connected with this being that you are. Because fear is not for you to stay stagnant. Fear is for you to dance. It's for you to get very clear on who you are. These struggle relationships and get tied up to things and people and environments and situations for you to be like, oh my God, there are people who walk around in life like this because they got fear all the time. All the time. They are fearful. And it hurts. I gotta get my shoulders back down. Hold on. Fear hurts because fear makes the energy that you're storing manifest. Then you're gonna start looking around and everything you see causes fear now. Heck no. That's not life. That's not for you. That's not the purpose of this. You're gonna have to move yourself. Fear is to stimulate you to use frequency healing. You are a spectacular and amazing spiritual being. You are not a physical being. Your fear is for you to use energetically. It's that we have been taught to be afraid. We have been taught to be scared. We have been taught that if we run, we'll eventually outrun our fears. Well, what happens when it's you? Your shadow is you. So it doesn't matter how far you run. It doesn't matter where you go hide. It doesn't matter what you even say. If you're not saying the right thing, your fear is still going to stick with you. So address it. Get comfortable with it. And be aware that it's for you to use as a tool. Here's another example of how your shadow is a tool. So there's this picture. Oh, I think this picture was taken in the 90s where they did an aerial shot of some camels in Africa. They were in the desert. And this aerial shot was of the camels. And when you're looking down, you think you see camels, but really you see their shadows. And so it was that they wanted to hunt these animals and they were looking down on them, but they were missing. They couldn't hit them. They couldn't hit these camels. And the reason why they couldn't hit the camels was because it's the shadow. They weren't actually hitting the physical being of the camel. Your oppressor sees your shadows too. They know what makes you fearful. They know what causes you to be disrupted. But they are in fear of your shadow too. If you know how to use your tools in the way that you should be using your tools, your shadow has a purpose. But you got to be willing to go into your shadow. You got to be willing to face what scares you and makes you fearful. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to learn and study yourself. You got to be willing to acknowledge those parts of you that are different than other people. Different ways to address your fears is to give it sound, is to speak it out loud. Every word has an energy signature to it. Every word. And depending on how you say things, depending on how you put the sound out there, is going to give it what's called a signature. Energy has a signature. I can say something and you can say something and it be the exact same words, but it's the energy in which we give those words as to which our signature shows up. And so when you give it sound and you call it out, then you can know what the energy of it is. You got to know your energy. Fear helps you understand your energy. And it can allow you to acknowledge your cells. So, every one of your cells makes a sound, just like plants, just like animals, just like trees and birds, and every part of you has a sound frequency to it. Your blood has a sound frequency. Your skin has a sound frequency. Your organs have a sound frequency. Um, your voice box, that's the one we use the most, it has a sound frequency. Your breathing has a sound frequency. Every part of you has a sound frequency. And so when you know how to use your sound, you release fear. That is also one of the ways I came up out of my fear. One of my greatest fears, I don't think I've ever told this story online, but I'm going to be very brief about it. Um, at a very young age, I had some experiences that caused me to have some fear. Um, I got married at a very youthful age, very young age. I was married I was a teenage bride, if you will. I got married at 19 years old. I wasn't even sure who I was at the time. Also, then I had a daughter that passed away, and so I really struggled with my own identity at that time, not knowing, who I was yet and what I was made for and where I was going to ultimately go. I wasn't sure, And so, my ex husband now had a very big infidelity problem. And so it really made me, again, already having a lot of questions about who I was growing up in a town and in a city and in a state and in a place where I didn't identify with anyone that was around me. Then getting married to someone that made me really question my identity. I got to this place where I feared who I was and I feared what was going to come next. And so I remember after we finally decided that we were going to get a divorce, I found myself getting music out of nowhere, just all kinds of music out. And I would go and I would belt loud, sing to the point where I'd start crying. And I would cry because some energy within me would be unlocked, and I would really start to either feel the words or I really start to feel the song and in the music and in the instrumental. I would really start to feel the message that was being, sent through the song. And I would find myself crying. And then I got to the point where, in order for me to really cope with things, I would always go find some music and go off either in the woods or go book a hotel room or do whatever I was going to do. I would go and I would get all this music together just to go sing. And it allowed me to recalibrate my nervous system. It allowed me to recalibrate my mental state. It allowed me to get really clear on those things that I was dealing with. And it allowed me to clear blockages. And so, giving your fear sound, whether it's through music, whether it's through singing and dancing, whether it's through chants and you affirming yourself or you calling things out that you're dealing with, giving it sound, whether it's you clapping your hands or stomping your feet or screaming or yelling, whether it's you giving yourself just the permission to let it out through sound. You can go and find some frequency music and healing music and things like that. But sometimes when you deal with real life trauma and things that have really, really hurt you and you don't understand and you don't want to go talk to your mama and daddy about it, you don't want to go talk to your friends about it, you don't want to go tell everybody your business. Sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is go get out in nature and just holla, okay? You can go get out in nature and sing and dance and scream and shout and scream and cry and do whatever it is that you need to do. And when you finally do that thing, you feel so much better about yourself. You feel so much better about what it is that you're dealing with because it allows you to get the stagnant energy out. It allows you to get the frustration out. It allows you to get more clarity. It allows you to figure out where your strengths are. It allows you to come back into yourself, your raw self, your core self, your intentional self, your being, and you are in a relaxed state. And when you're relaxed, your healing occurs. Your immune system, it goes up and it works better, and you can work through some things a lot easier because you got it out of your system. So, releasing fear energetically heals you. Releasing fear energetically gives you courage to keep going. Releasing fear energetically helps you to understand who you really are and that you can accomplish and be anything that you set your mind to, because then you understand that you are not limited, you are limitless. I want to share also with you that if you keep fear in your body, it affects you on a cellular level. It affects the sounds that are going to come out of you. It's going to keep you in an oxidative, stressful state. That means it's going to put some stress on your cells, and then they go haywire and they miscommunicate and they don't really talk in the way that they should talk. And so you don't have balance in the way that you should. So, allowing yourself to address your fears allows your body to recover. It allows your cells to regenerate. It allows your mind to get very clear and focused on what it is that you should be doing. The purpose of fear is really, truly not to destroy us. The purpose of fear is to make you awaken to your true self. The purpose of fear, it allows you to highlight the areas within you that needs to heal. It allows you to be attached to who you really should be, not in survival mode, but in thriving mode. It allows you to get out of the conditioning of this particular realm in which your I don't know, I ain't gonna say just the government, but they want us to be hunched down and broke down and bothered. But facing your fear allows you to transmute any type of pain, any type of brokenness into your power. It allows you to transmute into your freedom. It allows you to transform and be the phoenix that you ultimately are supposed to be. You are supposed to rise out of the ashes. You are supposed to elevate. And in that, you should be connecting with others to help them elevate too. So let me ask you, what fears are you currently working through? You don't have to answer in the comments. You don't have to. But this is something you can ask yourself every single day. What fears am I working through? What is my fear teaching me? What tools should I be mastering? What can I understand better about myself now that I know my fears? How can I shift from fear to strength? How can I know myself better now that I know my fears? These are questions that you can ask yourself, because once you are able to answer them, once you are able to really acknowledge who you are, including your fears, again, no one can tell you who you are. No one can tell you what you're supposed to be. No one can put their perceptions and projections on you. And no one will be able to hurt you. No one will be able to destroy you. Because this life is not about anyone else in the sense of you have to take on their fears, or you have to take on their pain, or you have to take on their worry. This life is about you getting connected with your most divine spiritual self. This life is about you connecting to a higher realm and frequency, and for you to ultimately be everything that you are: wonderful, expansive, purposeful, and well designed. My name's Latoriea Q. Again, I thank you for joining me. I have been doing a live every single day. My goal is to continue to do a live every single day. And the reason why I want to do a live every single day is because I feel like there's so much for me to share. And if anything, I would like to leave behind my footprints. I'd like to leave behind the fact that I was once here, and that if I can help someone with my existence being here, then I did what I was supposed to do. All right, y'all. Well, again, my name's Latoriea Q, and I thank you for joining me, and I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I will see you again in the next video. Peace.